Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Thank you all very much for joining ISKCON Brisbane's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam program. So today we'll be glorifying Canto 5, Chapter 1, verse number 15. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Ashtatrayesu Bhagavatesu Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Vaishnavi Krishnaya Vasudevaya Nanda Gopalaya. Isa Vishishtam Hyavardhamahenga Isa Vishishtam Dukkham Sukham Va Gura Karma Sangha Dukkham Sukham Va Gura Karma Sangha Asthaya tattad yaduntanatha चक्षुस्मतान्धा इव लीयमाना ईशाविशिष्टं व्यवरुन्धमहेन्द्र दुःखं सुखं वा गुणकर्म संगात् आस्थाय तत्तद् यदयुङ्क्तनाथ चक्षुष्मदान्धा इव नीयमानः शाविशिष्टं प्रवरन्दमहेङ्गो दुःखं सुखं वा गुणकर्मसङ्गात् आस्थाय तत्तद् यदयुङ्क्तनाथ चक्षुस्मतान्धा इव लीयमानः
दुःखं सुखं वा गुणकर्म
Asaya tattaliyanuttanata Chakshusmatandha iva niyamana
Isha Visishtam hi Avarunnmahinda
Isha visishtam hi avarum mahenga
Suktam Shukam Va Gunakarma Sangat
Dukham sukham va gunakarma sangat
Ashtaya Tattat Yad Ayuktanata
Asaya tattaliyanuttanata
Matanda Ivaniyamana
Chakshusmatandha iva niyamana Isha visishtam hi avarum mahenga Dukham sukham va gunakarma sangat Asthaya tat yadayam tanatha Chakshusmatandha iva niyamana
Children,
Isha visishtam hi avarum mahenga
Isha Abhishrishtham, created or given by the Lord. He certainly Avarundhamahe, have to accept. Anga, idea Priyavrat. Come, distress, come, happiness, wow, good karma, with quality and work, sangat, by association, asthaya, being situated in, tat, that condition, yat, which body, ayukta, he gave, natha, Supreme Lord, Chakshusmata, a person having eyes, Andhaha, blindness, evil, life, Niyamanaha, being conducted. My dear Priyavrata, according to our association with different modes of nature, material nature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives us our specific bodies and the happiness and distress we achieve. One must therefore remain situated as he is, be conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Exactly as a blind man is led by a person who has eyes which to see. By material means, one cannot avoid happiness and distress unique to his particular body. There are 8.4 million bodily forms is destined to enjoy and suffer a certain amount of happiness and distress. This we cannot change. For the happiness and distress are ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in accordance with whose decision we have received our bodies. Since we cannot avoid the plan of the Supreme Godhead, we must agree to be directed by Him. Just as a blind man is led by a person who has eyes, under any circumstances, if we remain in the condition allotted to us by the Supreme Lord and follow His instructions, we will become perfect. The main purpose of life is to follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's such instructions that constitutes one's religion or occupational duty. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, Lord Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parijya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Give up all other engagements, simply surrender unto me and follow me. Bhagavad Gita 18:66. This process of surrendering by following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not meant for any particular caste or creed. A Brahmana can surrender, and so can a Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra. Everyone can adopt this process. As is stated in this verse, Chakshus Matanja eva nivamana. One should follow the Lord the way a blind man follows a person who has eyes. If we follow the Supreme Personality of Godhead by following the directions He gives in the Vedas and Bhagavad Gita, our lives will be successful. The Lord therefore says, Manmana bhavavad bhakto vadhyāni mam namaskuru. Mam evashyesi satyam te pratijane. Always think of me, become my devotee, and offer respect and obeisances unto me. Then you will certainly come back home, back to Godhead. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 65. This instruction is meant for everyone. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra. If anyone from any division of life surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and follows His instructions, his life will be successful. The previous verse has given the analogy of bulls moving under the direction of the driver of a bullock cart. The bulls, being completely surrendered to this driver, remain wherever he wants to place them and eat whatever he wants them to eat. Similarly, being completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we should not aspire for happiness or regret distress. We must be satisfied with the position allotted to us by the Lord. We should follow the path of devotional service and not be dissatisfied with the happiness and distress He has given. People in the middle modes of passion and ignorance generally cannot understand the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with its 8.4 million forms of life. But the human form affords one the special privilege to understand this plan, engage in devotional service, and elevate oneself to the highest position of perfection by following the Lord's instructions. The entire world is working under the influence of the modes of material nature, especially ignorance and passion. But if people engage in hearing and chanting about the glories of the Supreme Lord, their lives can be successful. And they can be elevated to the highest perfection. In the Brihan Naradiya Purana, therefore, it is said, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalau Nastaiva, Nastaiva, Nastaiva. In this age of Kali, there is no other way, no other way, no other way for spiritual perfection than the holy name, the holy name, the holy name of God. Everyone should be given the chance to hear the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for thus one will gradually come to understand his real position in life and be elevated to the transcendental position above the mode of goodness. Thus, all impediments to his progress will be cut to pieces. In conclusion, Therefore, we must be satisfied in whatever position we have been put into by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should try to engage ourselves in His devotional service. Then our lives will be successful. This is the end of Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangum Lankayate Girim Yat Kripatvamaham Vande Shri Gurumadinataram Yat Kripatvamaham Vande Paramananda Madham Paramananda Pathaya Prem Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevaya Shri Krishnaya. Once again, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Purushottam Mantra ki. Thank you so much, Prabhu and Mataji, for joining once again. This wonderful opportunity we have to glorify the Lord, His devotees, His pastimes, His beauty, and so forth. So, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 5, we have just started. This is Canto 5 represents lotus level of the which is essentially creation, primarily Visarga, the creation performed by Lord Brahma and his progenitors. So we have come up quite a lot. We began with Canto 1 and 2, which are lotus feet of the Lord. Canto 3 and 4, which are thighs of the Lord. And Canto 5 now, navel. In Canto 4, we went into details the lineage of Tanpa. Essentially, we've been studying the glories of Swayambhuva Manu's family. We heard in the beginning the glories of three daughters of Swayambhuva, Akuti, Prasuti, and Deva, followed by Maharaj Tanpa, which included Dhruva Maharaj and went all the way to Chetas. And now, as we have heard in the previous verses, that there is a need for Maharaj Priyavrat to resume his duty as a king of the planet, because Chetas have retired and they produced a son, Daksha Prajapati, who had produced quite a lot of children, but by the mercy of Narada Muni, they renounced any desire for material kingdom, and Daksha also retired. So there is no one to look after. So Swayambhu Manu calls upon his son Priyavrat to take care of the world in terms of ruling the world. And as we know, Maharaj Priyavrat was not so much inclined to take up this position of being a king and being involved in the material welfare of the planet. He was already situated in a very much detached way of life by the mercy of Narada. But as the verse says here, and this is what Lord Brahma, Swayambhu Muni tried to persuade Maharaj Priyavrat, who listened to his father very submissively, but deep down he was still not very enthusiastic about taking the Realizing this, Lord Brahma appears. Lord Brahma is the administrative head, spiritual head of this universe. So whenever there is any issue, divine personalities, especially demigod, they approach Lord Brahma for advice. And also when Lord Brahma sees there is a need, he himself comes to guide them. So it's a very interesting situation here that we have glorious personalities guiding Maharaj Priyavrat. On one hand, Narad Muni wanting him to be attached. On the other hand, his own father Swambhu Muni wanting him to be attached to the material world, worldly affairs. And Lord Brahma agrees with the intention of Swambhu Manu, because somebody has to take care of the material world of welfare of this universe. Lord has created this material universe for a purpose, and that purpose has to go on, has to be served. So suitable candidate has to be there to administer the will of the Lord. So Maharaj Priyavrat is placed in a position that he has to act against his wishes. Isn't that familiar? Many times we are faced with situations, circumstances where we have to act despite not wanting to act in that fashion. So in this particular verse, we see there are several aspects touched upon: karma and material modes of nature, destiny, and also the aspect of surrender and devotional service. Lord Brahma is advising Maharaj Priyavrat that every one of us is working under the dictation of Supreme Personality of Godhead through his agents, material modes of nature. So, first point is that this material distress and happiness are unavoidable. We all are looking forward to having more and more happiness, but it never works that way that we always have happiness. Distress comes, and when distress is over, then happiness comes. The cycle goes on. So we cannot avoid altogether material happiness and distress. And no material means can actually overcome this material happiness and distress. If we think wealth can overcome material distress, then think of all the rich people in the world. Aren't they suffering? Aren't they having material problems, mental problems, health problems, all kinds of problems? You may be healthy one day and may become unhealthy next day. So not necessarily healthy people are always healthy, they are also unhealthy. Suddenly, you may be 40 years old, 50 years old, you may be going to gym and doing all kinds of physical activity, apparently and externally you're very fit and healthy, and then suddenly you have a heart attack, you are gone, or you collapse. So the point being highlighted here by Lord Brahma is that never think that you are an independent person. You are working under the supervision and arrangements and plan of the law. So, Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain in the purport that every one of us has a fixed quota of happiness and distress given to us based upon our activities in the past lives. Based upon our consciousness at the time of quitting our body, we get the body in the next life. The psychophysical makeup is determined by that. We may get a body of human, we may get a body of animals. And even within human, we get, every one of us is different in terms of our psychophysical makeup. No two individuals are same. Even scientifically, we say that the genetic makeup of two individuals are never the same. So, the point here is that if happiness and distress we get in this life are already predetermined, then how much our life is in control, because we spend so much of our time rearranging our lives. When there is difficulty, we try to overcome by finding solution for the difficulties. And we all have experienced that doesn't matter what we do, our problems never go away. So the question comes that if everything is prearranged, at least in this state, then that means we do nothing. If everything is arranged, then why bother doing it? But not doing anything, is that in our control? Despite everything is arranged, because by the way we have acted in the past, we see two students maybe working very hard, equally brilliant in the school and everything, but later on in their life, you see one is very successful, other one is not. So there are many lessons we can learn from all these, that we should be never proud of our achievements in this life. And actually the verse is saying that we should be equipoised, because happiness and distress are ultimately awarded by the Lord. Of course, it is in response to our thoughts and actions and words, but ultimately it's dictated and controlled by the Lord. So the point being made here is that these ups and downs of life will be there always. That is constant. So given that, there is one thing we should also cultivate to keep constant in our life despite ups and downs is remembrance of the Lord, service to the Lord. Because we can never maneuver, never manipulate material nature to our liking. We can never do that. Doesn't matter you think of anyone in the universe has not succeeded in doing that. Think of Maharaj Prithu. He wanted to perform 100 yajna. But so many impediments he faced from divine personalities, King Indra, and so many people gave him so much trouble. But in the end, he listened to the good advice given to him by Lord Brahma and others. And he was very satisfied, very happy with 99 yajna. Actually, there is wonderful words spoken in that episode of Maharaj. Karmani cha yatha kalam means that according to whatever circumstances or place, time, karmani cha yatha kalam. We should act according to our time. So karmani cha yatha kalam Yatha desham yatha balam. So according to time, place, and our strength. Yatho chittam yatha vittam. And whatever is appropriate and according to our financial ability. Vittam, vittam finances. And akaro the Brahma Satka. So there, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam says that according to time, place, and circumstances, and our ability and strength and so forth, whatever is possible, we should try to do what? Akaro the Brahma Satkritam. We should try to act Brahma Sat, that is absolute truth, Lord Krishna. Kritam. We should try to work for his satisfaction. This has been practically the theme of the last couple of verses. Lord Brahma is saying that we all are born with certain nature, certain ability, certain body types, mental types, and so forth. And we may be categorized in terms of our psychophysical makeup of this body as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And we all have our different nature, just like the body, the different limbs of the body have different nature, different functions. But at the same time, they have one common function, serving the whole body. So similarly, whether you are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, you may have different nature. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he used his Kshatriya ability to serve the Lord. So similarly, we may have different nature, different temperament, but we can still engage our temperament in serving the Lord according to our nature. When we serve the Lord, when we do what is compatible with our nature, then we are happy, we are satisfied, and we are also successful because you enjoy doing that. You cannot, if you ask Arjuna to sit down and meditate and not shoot arrows, he won't be happy because that's not his nature. So like that. So the point I'm trying to highlight here is that our economy, our health, the outcomes of our activities are not truly in our control. But knowing this, we always still try to endeavor to bring things under control. Knowing it's not in control, we still try. And when we don't succeed, we get frustrated. Sometimes we give up. We say, okay, now that's enough. Get this. Recently, we were on a tour to Europe, came back, and I was very happy that my health, supported me, and I was fine. And at home, we have deities, Radha, Shyam, Sundar, and so forth. I did morning service and bowed down. As I was getting up, my body froze. Then I'm still looking at deities and what was that for? Then immediately it clicked to me, it must be my best interest. This is the consciousness of a devotee. We try to cultivate this consciousness that whatever happens in our life, like distress and happiness, it's all controlled by the Lord. So life is under the control of the Lord. So, I don't feel very comfortable in sitting on a chair and speaking Krishna Katha. I feel more comfortable sitting on the Vyasasana, on the floor. But like according to our circumstances, place, time, circumstances, we have to adjust. But that adjustment should be for the pleasure. So whatever is possible, we do. I cannot sit on the floor, but at least I can sit on the chair. So this is my, limitations. But given the limitations, we can still serve them. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was bedridden, 90 plus years of age, but he used every moment of his life in writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, our external circumstances may not be in our control. But Lord has given us the free will to think, to desire. So we can desire to hear Krishna Katha. So we can hear classes, we can read scriptures, even while we are lying on the bed, on couch, whatever. Last 2 weeks I spent most of my time on couch and bed. So I'm speaking a little bit from my realization and experience here. So yeah. And so the point here is that our circumstances may not be in our control, but how we respond, to some extent, it is in our control. A devotee's perspective is that nothing is in our control. But whatever is in our control is still by the will and by mercy of the Lord. Therefore, we even to desire to do something nice, to serve the Lord. If Lord is supreme controller, then how come even our desire is not under his control? But he has given us that free will. You can desire. That is still in his control, but he has given us that freedom for us to desire. So we can desire. So circumstances may not be in our control. Providence, our life in the past janmas can bring twists and turns in our current life. For example, you may begin to sail a boat. Everything is nice. You start sailing the boat. But what is not in our control, when the wind will blow, when the waves will rise. So what we do? When these uncontrollable things happen in our life, then we, instead of diverting our energies and attention, trying to control those things, we should try to adjust ourselves according to those circumstances which are beyond our control and still be able to perform devotional service. So the sailor, when the wind blows, then what will the sailor will do? Change the, whatever canopy, whatever you say, and direction, everything to go with the wind, become friendly with the changed circumstance, right? So this is the second point, is that our circumstances may not be in our control, but our consciousness. We can pray to the Lord, oh Lord, please give me the ability to think of you, to serve you to whatever level it is possible, whatever level you allow me to. So we adjust our circumstance. And this means that we remain surrendered in our consciousness at the lotus feet of God. So surrender is another thing here mentioned. Just like the bull mentioned in the previous words is at the mercy of the owner and is not rebelling and is peacefully living his life. So in this analogy of Srila Prabhupada today, the analogy in this verse, Lord Brahma is speaking, that just like a blind man, so blind man means we devotees are blind. Just take the humble position of being blind. When we take the humble position of being blind, then we understand that we are the mercy of someone who has the eyes. Chakshus mathanda. Chakshus, that's someone who has the eyes. So when you have the blind eyes, then if you try to walk on your own, what will happen? You'll bump here, you'll bump there, you'll fall in the ditch, and it will be a whole lot of confusion you'll go through in your life. But if we surrender to the person who has the eyes, and eyes here means that Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and the Lord, of course. if we surrender to the Lord and His instructions in the scriptures as well as His representative Guru and Sadhu, then they are the eyes they can show, then we will be saved. We will be spared of the confusions which we will face in our life. So the surrendering is also emphasized here. Surrender doesn't mean that, okay, if whatever I will get in this life is already predetermined, so I'm not going to do anything, sit here, become lazy, and so forth. And then also, okay, what's the point of surrendering if everything is decided? Whether I surrender or not surrender, I'm going to get it anyway, good or bad. So one can have this attitude also. But every situation provides an opportunity for us to be released from this miserable situation. So we take this opportunity of always depending upon the mercy of the Lord and His mercy directly, as well as mercy coming to us through so many channels. And we do whatever is possible for us. We still work hard to what we say. God helps those who help themselves. So it's not that we become lazy and do nothing. Just think of Arjuna. He was frustrated, he was confused, and at one point he was going to give up. But Lord did not tell him to sit idle, do nothing. Lord inspired him, taught him, preached him, and brought his flare back. And Arjuna he fought according to his nature. So the point I'm trying to say here that just because that the fact is that Lord is always in control, but within that framework, He has given us some freedom, and we should utilize that freedom to serve Him. Not that we think, look, nothing is in my control, so therefore there is nothing for me to do. There is nothing I can do. There is always something for us to do. So the blind man here is that, so time to reflect also based upon this verse that what do we do when difficulties hit us? Do we take a moment to reflect, or we become resentful and we start blaming this and that and even the Lord? This is daily exercise for us because difficulties are bound to come. And sometimes difficulties come in such a way that it's too much. I remember there was university convocation, what you call it, graduation ceremony here in India. And President of India, Gyani Jayal Singh, was president in my time in the 80s, 84, 83. He was going to come to give degrees to all the successful candidates. And by the mercy of the Lord and the blessings of my parents, I had qualified to get university gold medal. So it was a great joyous occasion for me to go and receive the gold medal from the president of the country. But, in my life, I have had many situations like that, but happiness and distress, they don't follow each other, they go together. So here I am to receive gold medal from the highest person of the country. I go on the podium stage, but I had a death in the family at the same time. So happiness was masked by sadness. So I did go, I was encouraged to go. I did go and receive, but my hair was shaved, and I still remember wearing a hat. You see, but the joy wasn't there as much as it would have been if there was no such tragedy in the family. So the tragedy was there, but at the same time I had the freedom to go, receive certificate, medal or not. You know, that my wife used that gold medal for Radharani now. So what's the point of having this gold medal sitting there doing nothing, so used as jewelry? So we can be very resentful, can have a lot of negative thoughts in our mind, and can be demoralizing in our life when severe problems happen in our life, but we should not blame anyone and certainly not blame the Lord. Blame ourselves only. But blaming and feeling down is not the solution. Learn from it, bounce back, and pray to the Lord that I don't have to go through this with again. Oh Lord, I understand it's all because of my doing. Because, you know, as you sow, so you reap. Law of karma, as I mentioned, there are karma is also first here. We are facing happiness in this place, in this life, based upon what we have done in the past life. So those tribulations, difficulties come, we take it as a burning out process. And a devotee's perspective is that my situation could be a lot worse. Like when my back froze, then I was thinking, oh Lord, could have been a lot worse. It could have happened while I was overseas, could have happened while I was in the flight, would have ruined this and that. I was thinking that, even though it was very painful, not being able to stand up and walk and this and that in agony. But it is like that. So, but in our situation, the Lord Brahma is trying to inspire Maharaj Priyavrat that it is the plan of the Lord that you become the king of the world, or planet. And I am here to tell you that. And if you do so, your life will be successful, you'll be blissful, you'll be happy. Why? Because Lord is pleased when the whole body is happy, different limbs of the body are also healthy and happy. That is the situation. So when we comply, when we dovetail our life, and you know, if the different limbs of the body, they don't cooperate, then they are not happy and the whole body is not happy. Will suffer. So Krishna is always in our control, in control of everything. He can change our situation. The point I would like to finish up with is that even though the stress and happiness we get in this life is determined by our actions in the past life, but Lord Krishna is always in control. When we surrender unto Him and try our level best to serve Him, He may be pleased, He may alleviate, minimize the token of sins and reactions we may be facing this. So this providence is maybe fixed, but it's not beyond the control of the Lord. He can change it. He can change it. He has the power to eradicate our sins. And He has power to give us any facility, any power that He wants. So we should always have firm faith in His mercy and try our level best. So really the only thing the main thing Srila Prabhupada concludes with is what I'm trying to communicate to you here, that thus all the impediments to his progress will be cut to pieces. This is the jurisdiction of the Lord, that He can remove all the impediments. In conclusion, therefore, we must be satisfied in whatever position we have been put into. If we accept ups and downs of our life and don't be disturbed, then our mind is in a position to think of the Lord. If we are overwhelmed with our external situation, then it's very difficult to perform devotional service. So the only way we can remain peaceful if we accept that this is part of life and it's because of my doing, and but Lord is free and He is merciful. He can provide whatever facilities I need to be able to serve Him as long as we desire to serve Him. So, in the prayers of demigods to Lord, when later on we'll be studying, I think kind of 6, the demigods pray to the Lord for relief from the material distress they were facing because of Dhritarashtra. The Lord says that the only thing devotees should ask is opportunity to serve me. That's the highest thing to ask. But since you are in trouble, you have asked for it, I'll give you anyway. So, we always say that this is the point I'm also trying to take from here, that Srila Prabhupada is saying in conclusion, whatever position we've been put into by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should try to engage ourselves in His devotional service, then our lives will be successful. So that's the point here. Whatever position we are in, there is one thing common we should always ask for, is just the opportunity and the ability to serve. That will take care of everything. Because if we have desire to serve Him, and if Lord is so merciful and so inclined, so pleased with your sincere desire, He will give you the ability to serve Him. So that much freedom Lord has given to us, that we desire to serve Him. And when this is the ideal situation, there was one devotee in New Mandala in Spain. He was giving a seminar on prayer of Lord Brahma, and he was talking about that how we should go to the Lord to pray and ask for, this help, that help. Then I remembered this demigod's prayer in that sort of a Dhritarashtra I was discussing with you, but there the Lord said that you should not ask for this, that. Why bother Lord with these little things? A pure devotee of the Lord does not go to the Lord with bothering about overcoming this problem, that problem. A pure devotee of the Lord is only thinking of how to please the Lord despite all the problems in the world. And he said, yeah, so the Prabhu responded, he said, that's the ideal situation. That's certainly the ideal situation we should always aim for, that consciousness where we have no desire but to serve the Lord. Lord knows our pains and nuts and bolts and twists and aching and everything. He knows we don't have to give Him a big list of the issues we are facing. Lord knows it. You simply ask for opportunity to serve Him in all situations. But if it becomes too much for us to handle, then certainly we should express our sufferings to the Lord, because that's also definition of surrender. If Lord is our only refuge, only shelter, where will you go? You go to Him, and just like when children are in trouble, they come running to parents, happy to help them. So is the position. So it's depending upon the consciousness. The ultimate position is that we only desire is to serve the Lord. But if there are difficulties on the way which are stopping us from serving Him, it's okay to express those to Lord, ask for His help. God, please help me. I desire to serve You, but I am unable and I'm facing this difficulty. That is very good. So here, Lord Brahma is asking Maharaj Priyavrat, give up your personal desire to become renounced, detached. That is not the will and that is not the plan of the Lord. The plan of the Lord is, He has got a job for you, you do that, your life will be successful. This is the position of the servant. Servant serves according to the desire of the master, not according to his desire. So thank you very much for my Krishna. Please, if there are any comments, thoughts, corrections, please share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just really, the question is in my mind is that in our day-to-day life, how do we distinguish between the plan of the Lord and our desire? Because time and circumstances brings you to a certain point, but then you're acting, you take an action. How do we know that that action is as per our desire or as per the plan of the Lord? That it will find out how do you become better.
Well, that's why the question is that how do we know what we are planning to do, or what we are going to do is according to our own plan, or whether it is sanctioned or it is as per the will of the Lord. So, Lord Krishna gives instructions in Bhagavad Gita and in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these scriptures stipulate what actions will please the Lord. So, whatever we are planning, are they in accordance with the instructions of Guru Sadhu Shastra? And are they going to please the Lord or not? That criteria has to be there, that parameter has to be there. Because Lord is Chaitya Guru, residing in our heart, is guiding us. And if we are, and he has already given those guidance in many forms through Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Plus he's there as in his heart, in our heart, guiding. So we just have to measure our action, whether is going as per the list of checks prescribed to us or not. And actually, to large extent, we can figure it out if you meditate upon it seriously, whether the action, thoughts, or words I have, they are driven by my own desire and sense gratification, or whether driven by purely to please the Lord. Isn't that? Your intention, only you know and the Lord knows. Your intention will dictate your words and actions. So intention, if intention is pure to please the Lord, then it is in accordance. So the parameter is there. You know, whether it's a day, when we can see the sun, we say it's daytime. You know, when the sun is gone, it's night time. So some parameter has to be there. The parameters are there. Any activity which is performed, whether you are a karma yogi or dhyana yogi or a ashtanga yogi or whatever yogi, or bhakti yogi, any activity you perform, if it is only for your pleasure, then it doesn't matter. You may be bhakti yogi, but that becomes nothing but karma kandi. But even if you are karma kandi, Karma kandi means you performing some activity for approaching the Lord, karma yogi, but the intention is to please yourself. But if that same activity is performed purely for the pleasure of the Lord, that becomes, so you know that. You can work it out, whether it's there is an ulterior motive or whether it's pure motive simply to. Does it make sense, Prabhu? Plucking a flower from the garden and you smell it, you start enjoying the same action, but it's, not, but the same flower you offer to the Lord. And if you pick the flower and say, wow, I'm great. I've grown those flower in the garden and such a nice flower has come. I'm going to present it to the Lord and Lord will be very happy that I've done such a great job. So a little bit of pampering, a little bit of, self-gratification is coming in the way. So you're mixing that pure service to the Lord with your own service. So intention is very, very important. Only Lord can read our intention. So make sure intention is not contaminated with other factors. So Rupa Goswami has given this definition. So Acharyas have given us parameter by which we can check. Janardhan Prabhu is trying his hard to install chakra. I suppose it's coming very soon. If Janardhan Prabhu think that it's, I'm going to be very popular and famous because I've installed chakra and I built a temple, then a little bit of sense gratification is there. But he's working so hard to build this temple and installing chakra, so it attracts devotees and so forth. That's pure. So it's a matter of just intention. Nothing. That's my understanding. Nothing is. And other people might like put you on the spot, so might like to say something. So yeah, so it's intense. It's all right.
Just one thing I said, it might look like for our devotees that it's like something which is coming from people who we might think they are not Krishna conscious. I remember that earlier before our spiritual life, my Prabhuji, because he had his studies in United Kingdom, and he was associated with a group of people. You might have heard, it's called Moral Riyama. And so what they do is that early in the morning, they have a quiet time, sit and take instructions from the Lord. That means that some thoughts come there, and how this thought is coming from the Lord or from yourself, they used to say four things: whether it is pure, whether it is honest, whether this thought is unselfish, or whether this thought is love. So we can see in our spiritual lives, when we have all the instructions from the Shastra and all the instructions which are given, we think these thoughts are actually, this is not for our own sense gratification, because they are pure and they are honest and they are unselfish and they are yogi thoughts. So this is how they use into their daily lives and saying whether this is for my own self gratification. I remember this and even becoming Krishna conscious and reading all this, but I have never forgotten. And we still feel that quiet time and listening. And many devotees, we have seen, that Lord speaks to them. I'm not saying it's to me, but what I'm saying is how much we are advanced. Like the Lord speaks to his devotees like pujaris. We have seen in Mayapur when they gave the new eyes to Narasimha Dev. He didn't like it. And he said, take these eyes, I don't want it. And even Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami serving the lords, and Lord asked to them to give them, some salt you are giving me on this dry mountain. These things do come. So we have to understand that, we remember the Lord when we are, very unhappy. Please, सुख में सब याद करें, सुख में करेगा कोई। जो सुख में याद करे तो दिखाएगा कोई। So we forget that we are happy, enjoying, having everything. We forget. Kunti Maharani says that give me all this calamity so that I can remember.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So, when it's become hard to make that distinction at the word said, it's also, isn't it like also important that the role of Guru in life, like maybe like Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru, to have that. So, because sometimes what happens that I'm thinking, well, this is the right thing and I'm doing it for the Lord. And sometimes also what happens that I become like self-righteous and this is the thing that I want to do. So that's where the role of Guru becomes really important in life. When you check that is it happening, is it the right thing that I'm doing? Because sometimes it becomes really hard. That is the thing that I'm doing is the right thing? Or right thing is like, is it for the Lord or for my pleasure? And I become 100% confident that this is for Lord's pleasure. But then when I hear from the operator saying, no, this is for your pleasure. And sometimes it's very hard to swallow. So that's why it also becomes that, like, you have to have that anchor in mind where you can check that is it the right thing that I'm doing or not?
Absolutely, Prabhu, yes. So Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, the three support helpline we have available. And sometimes there may be even contradictions. Take example of Bali Maharaj. The instruction coming from his guru was not necessarily in accordance with Shastra. So yes, like Prabhu's next point I was trying to make, that Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. We need to verify whatever desire coming. Firstly, you can judge yourself to some extent whether my intention is pure and whether it's going to please the Lord. A guru is asking for a glass of water and giving a glass of milk, thinking that this is a nice service I'm doing, going to please Guru. Then, but Guru is happy. Guru has asked clearly to give a glass of water, but you're going one extra step. Intention is good, but this is not what Guru has asked. So the instruction is important to be follow instructions. This is what actually the whole purport is talking about, surrender to the instructions of the Lord. So the Lord's instructions come to us through Shastra and Sadhu and Guru. So if we have any time we have a doubt in our mind, we should clarify. Actually, that's the role of, like you mentioned, see the devotees and Guru, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru in our life, that we always verify of activities we do in our life to make sure we are on the right track and that it is going to be pleasing to Guru and Krishna. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. I was looking at Janardhan Prabhu. I think Janardhan Prabhu wants to say something. That Prabhu?
Haribo. discussing mind being experiment called rat utopia. And they took a whole bunch of rats and they put the rats in an enclosed system that they'd set up where they gave the rats unlimited water and unlimited food, unlimited supplies as much as they wanted, right? So it was like a rat utopia, like a heaven for rats. So they created this space where they gave them all the material facilities that they could possibly want. And what ended up happening is that the whole rat colony ended up collapsing. So first it expanded rapidly because they had a lot of resources. They didn't have to worry about their resources. But eventually, the rats ended up becoming depressed and they ended up becoming extinct. And what the researchers noticed is that the usual rat behavior changed because when they were put in a situation where they had all their resources handed to them, their social roles in the colony became defunct. There was no point, so they no longer had a social role to perform. And because they didn't have a role to perform, they didn't know what to do with themselves and they became depressed. So I was just thinking that actually that's an interest. I was connecting that to the Varnashram system, that it's designed for us to have a particular function in this world, to interact with this world. And if we lose our purpose, if we lose our dharma, then how important it is to actually have some dharma. Because if you don't have any dharma, then you lose your entire purpose for existence. And so for devotees, and this is, I guess, the difference between regular versus daily Varnashram Dharma, is that our purpose and our social role is to serve Krishna and to please Krishna. And that gives us purpose in our life. So that not only is helping us on a spiritual level, but even it helps us to fulfill our material needs of feeling part of a group, those disciples that people need that we have, which is just a natural phenomenon, not only for humans, but even for animals, has been shown. So when people try to artificially renounce, some advanced devotees can get to the point where they can completely give up any social role and just become a reclusive and stay alone and do their own bhajan. But that's not very common. Generally, we need some purpose. And so I was just thinking about that and how having that purpose is so important, not only for us to survive materially, but also for us to thrive spiritually. And how Prabhupada has actually set up such a functional system that no matter where we are, if we have New Govardhan, people living in rural areas, we have Brisbane, we've got temples all over the world in all different kinds of environments. But because we're engaged in devotional service, that gives us our social engagement, that gives us something to do, something to work towards. Because otherwise, even though the purpose of all of that, the purpose of all of the reading, the chanting, and the pujas, and the sweeping the floors, and the cooking, and the purpose of all of those engagements is ultimately to just try and engage our minds in thinking of Krishna and trying to please Krishna. But then you would say, well, then what if I can just sit down in a corner somewhere and just do that? I'll just engage my mind in Krishna, but it's actually very, very difficult. So we have to engage ourselves in something. And otherwise we become like Arjuna, who's telling Krishna, like, I can't control it. My mind is running all over the place. And if somebody as powerful as that can't control it, imagine what kind of psychopaths that we have. So I find it interesting how, generally when we think or when we speak, when I think about Varnashram Dharma, it sounds like a very, very old school traditional system, but actually it's just a natural system. It just reminded me of that rat experiment and how essentially we're a bit like rats.
Yeah, absolutely, Prabhu. Spot on, yeah. Krishna, this whole Daivi Varnashram Dharma is a very scientific system. Krishna has created, therefore it's a perfect system. And it is also to large extent is the responsibility of leaders. Think of Prithu Maharaj. He tried to engage everybody in his kingdom according to their nature. So this Varnashram, when we say Varnashram, I'm talking about Daiva Varnashram, because the very goal of Daiva Varnashram Dharma is perform activities according to your nature, but with the intention to please the Lord. Not with intention to please yourself, that becomes Asura Varnashram Dharma. Daiva Varnashram Dharma according to your nature. So what is the difficulty? If you act according to nature, it's very natural. You would do it. So just like, so it's a cooperation. Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much reintroduction of the Varnashram system in the society for that purpose. Peace and harmony, where everybody can be working in cooperation with each other for the pleasure of the Lord. When we take that away, then it becomes tough. So, a simple example Srila Prabhupada gives is of this one. And it's when each one Varna tries to exploit the other Varna for the pleasure of their own self, then it becomes the problem. But that's not Varnashram. Real Varnashram Dharma is cooperation amongst each other, like legs cooperating with hands cooperating with eyes, the different parts of the body, working according to their nature for the purpose of singing the whole body. So like that. So it is the duty of leader, and if we translate this to this temple, for example, and it's a massive challenge. For a temple president, it's a massive challenge to understand the nature and inclination of everyone and engage them according to their natural interest in the service of the Lord. It's a challenge. But there is no such education system, So, if somebody has Brahminical nature, then engage that person in Brahminical activities, eating worship. So somebody has Kshatriya nature, engage them in, administration, somebody Vaishya nature, flower, gardening, production. So the whole society can live in peace, harmony, and support each other. This material creation cannot exist if everybody simply becomes pure devotee. Then the end of creation. But that's not the reality. There will always be some people, conditioned souls not wanting this and that. So, yeah, the Varnashram system is very, very important to be introduced. How, and ISKCON is trying in many ways, but challenges are there. So, yeah.
You mentioned according to the nature, right? So it's good to try and engage people according to their nature, but also sometimes people don't really. Sometimes people are not honest with themselves about what their nature is.
Yeah, well,
because especially in traditional culture, there's an idea of having that if you have a senior position, or if you're on the Vyasa-san, or if you do something where everybody gives respect, so everybody is aspiring for that, especially in traditional-based cultures. Because there's a hierarchy system, so they all want to be up on the hierarchy.
yeah.
They want to be at the top of the pyramid. It's not necessarily their nature, so they're being dishonest with themselves.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where it comes back to your point about guru sadhana and such, and being able to be honest with yourself and take instructions.
Yeah, so
Externally.
in traditional Gurukul system, your nature will be identified at very early age. Very early age, your nature, true nature will be identified in terms of your material nature. Our eternal nature is same, to serve the Lord. Material nature is what we have to engage in serving the Lord. So that's identified in Gurukul stage by Guru, by senior members in the society, in the family. They will know your nature. When you are, before teenager, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then at that. So it's through that process, you know whether this person is of that nature, then you nurture that nature, provide facility which support that nature in such a way that it ultimately becomes a service to the Lord. So the whole education, that's why Varnashram colleges need to be established. Srila Prabhupada in 1974 said that actually every temple must be linked or must have a Varnashram college. Varnashram college means that you have land, you have cows, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishnava, especially Brahmana, to train everybody. It's the duty of the Brahmana to train everybody. So the leader of society and leader of a spiritual organization is administrative head plus a spiritual head. Because unless you're the spiritual head, you cannot implement the other system or even guide the people who are looking for a spiritual head. So the education is missing quite a lot. Catching up, ISKCON is catching up in terms of education. I don't know about you, Prabhu, whether you are given opportunity to go to some training and this and that, but many times we are thrown into this management without, or take up management without necessarily having the sufficient supporting years and training and skills. With time you pick up, thrown in the deep water, you learn to swim. So training has to be there. So the Varnashram colleges are being established in some places, for this very purpose, where people like us can go and be trained. We have missed out training at the early stages. Now we can, this is mature, student colleges, you go and learn. So education has to be there. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. I hope I have not done this service to you in terms of talking about chakra and so forth. My point was simply the intention. You are doing very good service. Trying your level best. We appreciate it. May God bless you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Bol Prabhu, can you
Hare
hear me?
Krishna Prabhuji, let me put you, where is that? Volume up, Prabhuji, because I can't hear.
Okay.
Speak, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu Dandavat Pranam, thank you for your wonderful class. Just a little addition, there's a difference between nature, character, and behavior. I've had 2 questions, but in interest of time, I have one request. Today being the first day of the month of Purushottam, which is 1,000 times more beneficial than the month of Kartik, can I ask you or request you, time permitting, if you could tell us a little bit about the glories and the benefits of the month of Purushottam? Thank you very much, bro.
Hare Bol, Prabhuji. Is it today or it started yesterday?
It starts today, but Prabhupada wrote specifically about this, about Kartik and Purushottam month. He didn't give any importance to these things, even Kartik month.
Yeah.
He wrote it, but it's a famous letter he wrote to Jagataka Swami, to Jagataka Mouse at the time, who asked him about Kartik month. And Prabhupada said it's just that it's basically for non-devotees or for very new devotees who are not practicing Krishna consciousness. And he said it's like when a shop does a wholesale, and so they give a special deal. He said, but the devotees who are already practicing, he said, they're like customers who already understand the value of that product. So the holy name is so valuable, it's unlimited. So what is 10,000 times unlimited? It's still unlimited. If you go unlimited times 1,000, like, so what? It's still unlimited. So devotees already understand the value of that. So they're not so worried about these kind of special sales. He said it's basically like a marketing tool to attract new customers. But now when Prabhupada it's time Kartik and it was never a big thing and it became a big thing. When I was growing up in ISKCON, in Vrindavan, we never had any Purushottam month, any of these things. Now it's slowly becoming a big tradition. So we should be a little careful not to slip into the path of karma kanda. Bhaktivinoda Thakur spoke a little bit, and he wrote an essay about his reflections on the importance of Purushottam month. But essentially, it's like a marketing strategy to attract new customers who are more karma kanda focused. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes about that as well. So I think we should be careful not to overemphasize these things, at least amongst devotees. It's more a preaching tool for them. Because you chant Hare Krishna, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter when you are, there's no hard and fast rules like what Chaitanya says. Anytime you chant, anytime you do devotional service, that is the best time. Right? Anytime you're doing something with Krishna, that's the best time. You don't have to wait every 3 years to finally have a good time to do it.
So for a sincere devotee, every day is a festival of service.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I beg to differ quite strongly on that point because
I base it on Prabhupada.
So Prabhuji, Purushottam month, you know a lot of the background to the Purushottam month. The way I see it is that it is there to inspire everyone and anyone into engaging in the service of the Lord more enthusiastically and sincerely and so forth. So, it comes every year, almost every 3 years, this Purushottam month. But for a devotee who is serving the Lord every day, like another Prabhu was making the point, then what's the difference?
the difference is, Prabhu, you see what happens is like Prabhu's mentioned.
Thank you so much, Ranganath Prabhu, for class today. Wonderful class. Thank you.
Okay, Mataji, so we're going to conclude the class here now.
Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Ranganath Das Prabhu Ki. His Grace Ranganath Das Prabhu Ki. Jai.